As you can see, you're going to have to listen, okay? Because we're going to play it through the mic and all of that, so pay attention. Be very quiet, listen up. Before we get started, a couple of people I want to thank for making today possible. Coach Carlos LaFleur is very, very instrumental in making this happen today. Let's give him a quick round of applause. And we also want to recognize Mr. Matt Fundo at the Booster Club. They have a big hand in making this day possible as well, so give them a round of applause. Without any further ado, we will begin.
Statistics show if you've been incarcerated. Statistics show if you've been incarcerated once, there's a good chance you'll end up behind bars again. That's not how Damon West wants his story to end, and he's proving to others the best is yet to come.
In Texas, football is king, and Port Arthur had a rising star in the early 90s. Damon West was the golden child, a 3-year starter at Thomas Jefferson High School, and he had privileges. He was in the locker room when the Cowboys were headed to their first Super Bowl under Jimmy Johnson, and Johnson delivered that famous line.
And all the thing I can say is, how about this Cowboys?
That's Damon celebrating, just like he was one of the boys.
You couldn't ask for a better script for an All-American kid. I mean, I came from a great family, 2 brothers, Brandon and Grayson. The football stuff was just amazing. My dad and Jimmy Johnson being best friends, and I would go, as you remember back when Jimmy was coaching the Cowboys, I would go to a lot of the games and hold his headphones over the sidelines. I mean, and that's just not something normal kids got to do.
He had it all. The media was there when he signed his football scholarship to North Texas. You talk about proud parents. His dad, the longtime sports writer at the Port Arthur News, and his mom, Jeannie, were watching their son's success.
And that's Damon. He goes to extremes when he did everything. And Mike Owens, a coach at TJ, would tell you he'd be there an hour early, stay an hour late. During the summer, he'd go around and find guys that he could throw to. I mean, it was relentless. He just had a burning desire to succeed.
And he did. He graduated from North Texas, started a job as a stockbroker in Dallas, but then it all came crashing down. That one day, he couldn't say no to crystal meth.
All right, guys, a big round of applause for our speaker today, Mr. Damon West.
All right, man. Hey, man, y'all put your hands together for Mr. Corvo, man. This dude is, man, you are doing it all, man. You got it all done, dude. And the Booster Club. Thank you, Booster Club. Thank you for the Booster Club, man. Now, Mr. Corvo, I'm impressed, man. I mean, you whipped that technology really well. I go all over the country speaking, and it never fails. You're going to have, this is a lesson in life, too. This is a bonus for the presentation today. You're always going to have a problem with technology no matter wherever you go, so get there early so you can get that done, right? That's really what I try to do. The other time that I had a problem like this, the only time I've ever had something where it came in the wire like that was at University of Alabama. I almost didn't get to use my PowerPoint at Alabama, and Nick Saban would have been floored if that would have happened, man. But anyway, I know this is Louisiana, we don't talk about Nick Saban in this state, so I totally understand. So hey, look, honestly, I'm thrilled to be here today. I've got a story I want to share with y'all, and I think that it has potential to help a lot of people. It's a warning to some, a message of hope to others. And I'm always looking for the next Damon West that's in this room, because there's one of you, well, somebody here is just like me, so you'll hear my story and you'll know if it's you. So let's go ahead and jump in and start the story out. We're going to start it out 11 years ago. We'll start it out July 30th, 2008. I was sitting around this little rundown apartment in Dallas where I live, and I'm sitting on this little ratty old couch, and I've got my meth dealer, this guy named Tex. You see, I'm a full-blown meth addict at this point. And this guy named Tex is sitting next to me, and I'm passing this glass pipe with his meth in it back and forth as I'm smoking it. I'm passing it back to Tex, and I'm telling Tex, hey man, I think the end is near. I think the cops are gonna come get me pretty soon. You see, 10 days before this guy I've been doing all these burglaries with, this guy named Dustin, had been picked up by the Dallas Police Department. So they've been putting the screws in this guy. I know it's a matter of time before they get to me. And just as I pass that pipe back to Tex, I hear a window shatter off to my right. And tumbling across my living room floor is this little canister going end over end. And I pass, as I get up off the couch, I get up and I get right above this canister and it starts to dawn on me what's going on. It's like slow motion reel in a movie, man. As I get up over this canister, all right. I want y'all to remember what that felt like, because in real life, when a flashbang grenade goes off in your face, it's 100 times worse than that. It's terrorizing. It's a bright white light, loud noise. It blew me back on the couch. And when I came to, when I could see and hear again, this cop in full SWAT riot gear, he's got his boot on my chest, and the barrel of a machine gun is digging in my eye socket. That barrel's cold. I feel it up against my eyeball. And this cop is screaming at me, "Don't move, don't move." Man, I looked up at this guy and I blinked. I was like, "Dude, don't worry, don't worry." And so cops started flooding in my apartment. One of them screamed out, "We got it. We got the Uptown Burglar." The Uptown Burglar, y'all. Remember that name. See, it doesn't matter what all kind of positive energy I put back in the world today. I will always be remembered for that moniker, the Uptown Burglar, for the consequences of my decisions. And all decisions have consequences. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. This is a bad one, y'all. You see, about a dozen other meth addicts and myself, young and old, male and female, black and white, and everything in between, because drugs do not discriminate. Addiction doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care who you are, who your daddy is, who your mommy is. It doesn't care how much money you have. It doesn't care if you're black or you're white or you're male or you're female. Addiction affects everybody the same way. When it has you, when you're an addict, it has you. But we, as a burglary crew, we indiscriminately and without reservation broke into the homes of dozens of people in the uptown neighborhood of Dallas to feed our insatiable meth habits. But on July 30th, 2008, the Uptown Burglars came to an end. They had their man. They had the mastermind of the whole thing on the floor. So they zip-tied me up on that floor, threw me back in a squad car, took me down to Dallas County Jail where they processed me and fingerprinted me, mugshot. That's me on July 30th, 2008, y'all. Did I look anything like the guy you see in front of you today? No, man. Those eyes, look at those eyes. I'm dead. That's what it looks like when you're in your addiction. That's what an addict looks like in their addiction. So they throw me in this holding cell where I spent the first 24 hours of my incarceration. And I've got one thought going through my head, and it's not about my victims, who I've got tons of victims at this point. I don't care about them. It's not about my family. And our families are our biggest victims. And when we do wrong, we go out and get in trouble, we commit crimes, we get into drugs and alcohol, our families go through it the most because our families love us unconditionally. But I don't care about that. I don't even care about myself. I've got a first-degree felony for organized crime hanging over my head with a potential life sentence in prison. I don't care about it. I care about one thing. How can I get drugs into here? How can I get my meth into county jail? And that's what the thought that I had in my head. For 10 months, I sat around with that thought in my head, how am I going to get high in jail? And at the end of 10 months, I got my day in court. I got 6 days in court, actually. And 6 days is a long criminal trial in the state of Texas. And so at the end of 6 days, a jury of my peers, 12 men and 12 women, 12 men and women total, they sat around and listened to that testimony for 6 days. It took them 10 minutes to come up with a decision for my punishment. And I don't know how much Law and Order you'll watch, but if a jury's gone for 10 minutes thinking about your punishment, you're in big trouble, man. They just smoked you. So when I came back into the courtroom, the judge gavels the courtroom in, bam, bam, bam. He says, "Damon Joseph West, you are hereby sentenced to 65 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, y'all. 65 years. That is a life sentence. Anything 60 and above is life. A jury gave me life. My first felony conviction, y'all. Took my breath away. I mean, it was like being in an echo chamber, like 65, 65. Y'all, obviously I didn't do 65 years in prison. I did 7 years and 3 months in a maximum security penitentiary in Texas. And I'm going to tell you all about prison during this story. I did 7 years and 3 months, and at the end of that, the changes that I made in prison, parole board came and saw me on November 16, 2015, and they said, "Hey, look, Mr. West, you got this plan. You want to go out and talk to kids all over the country. You want to try to help other people out, that's fine. Do that. Because if you come back in handcuffs anytime between now and 2073, we will keep you in prison until 2073. Y'all, I'm on paper for the rest of my life. Every month, I check in with my PO, I go pee in a cup. I talk to her, I have an interview every single month. I have to do that for the rest of my life, but it's better than being in prison. So look, let me tell y'all this story. Let me tell y'all where it all started, and where it all began. And because if this could happen to me, with my back, y'all, I had every opportunity in life. You're gonna hear I had every opportunity in life, all the love and support to do anything I want to do. If this could happen to me, if this could be my fate, then nobody in here is safe. Because I had everything, y'all, and I threw it all away. So let's back it up. I'm from Port Arthur, Texas. Y'all know where Port Arthur is, right across the Sabine River, right? Port Arthur, Texas. Grew up in Port Arthur. My dad, Bob West, was a real famous sports writer down there. He was a sports writer for like 50 years. He was also the first sports writer in that part of Texas to put a black athlete on the front page of a sports page. That was 1971. And my dad's got a box of hate mail at home to prove what that decision was like. My mother was a nurse. So my parents got thrust into civil rights at an early age. When a lot of the white families were moving out of Port Arthur in the 70s and 80s, my parents dug into their heels and stayed. They wanted their kids to go to integrated schools, and we did. We did. I was always one of the only white kids, slumber parties, birthday parties, sports teams, you name it. And I tell you the racial component for this because it's going to save my life later on in my story. You'll see. I have an older brother named Brandon, a younger brother named Grayson. We had this nice, little, happy home, but every family's got problems, y'all. Don't let anybody fool you and think that their family didn't have problems. We did too. Give you an example. 1985, I was 9 years old. Came out and told my parents my babysitter had been molesting me. All right? This is childhood sexual abuse in the 80s, y'all. They didn't know as much about it back then as they know now, but my parents loved me. They sent me to talk to the family priest, they sent me to counseling, and we prayed about it. We prayed. My mom was one of those, she's still alive. My mom's one of those moms that had a prayer plaque or a cross in every room in the house, man. Some of y'all may have a mom like that. I see some people shaking their heads. Yeah, that's my mom, man. My mom's got a prayer plaque or a cross. She's warding off evil spirits in every room, right? So, but something inside that little 9-year-old boy went to a really dark place where the prayers weren't getting through to. And so, by the time I was 10, I started drinking. I started putting in alcohol and changed the way I felt. I got in my dad's beer. I got in some friends' liquor cabinets at their houses. By the time I'm 12, I'm smoking pot. But worst of all, I've got a bad belief system at this point. And let me tell you what a bad belief system is. A bad belief system is when a 10-year-old, 12-year-old thinks, hey, all I'm doing is drinking a little beer, smoking a little pot. I'm not hurting anybody. Heck, I'm not even hurting myself, you know? And if you're in the crowd, if you're that Damon West in the crowd, you know what I'm talking about, that belief system, right? Why are they getting so upset I'm not doing anything wrong? But I couldn't have been more wrong because I was really hurting myself in the long term because I'm an addict in the early stages of my addiction, and I didn't know that back then. I've got a lot of behavioral issues. But because I could throw a football really well, I got a lot of breaks in life growing up in Port Arthur, Texas. I was a star quarterback in high school. I got a 3-year starting quarterback, got a football scholarship to play at the University of North Texas. So I moved off to college when I'm 18, and for the first time I'm away from home, away from mom, my dad, and everything. And the wheels kind of come off the wagon, y'all. I mean, look, all I really cared about when I got to college was 2 things. I wanted to be the starting quarterback for my Division I college football team, and I wanted to party, and I did both really well. But life has a way of keeping you in check, and the way it keeps you in check, the way God keeps you in check is these days called fork in the road days. And a fork in the road day is this. Life is going to knock you down, and when you get back up and dust yourself off of that fork in the road, you got some choices to make, right? You're going to make the right choice and go the right way, or the wrong choice and go the wrong direction. A huge fork in the road in my life happened on September 21st, 1996, a day that I will never forget. But instead of me telling you about that fork in the road, I brought it with me to show you today. I'm 20 years old in this video. I'm playing quarterback, I'm starting quarterback for North Texas against Texas A&M. And growing up in Texas, what little boy doesn't want to either play for A&M or against those guys? So here I am. This is the fork in the road in my life, right here.
Damon West is the starting quarterback. Crawlers is running back. They go with a single setback, 2 flankers, 2 tight ends. They go on a play action back to the 20, now to the 25. Now they'll run with it West across the 35 to about the 37. And they will come out and show a shotgun facing a 2nd down and 4 from their own 37-yard line. The running back on either side takes the snap, the lay out of the backfield, and that should be Hunt Allred. And it is. Allred goes to about the 39-yard line. He'll be 2 shy on the 1st down. One of the linebackers for Texas A&M, Dan Wynn, a top 100 school recruit, just made the hit for the Aggies. Again, a shotgun for Damon West, a running back all right off to his left. Here's the snap. He drops back to about the 32, throws in the flats to Coleman. He makes the reception, and he will be bottled up at the line of scrimmage. He caught him behind the line at about the 38. He got to the 39, and that will be it.
That will be it. Dave South is a legendary announcer from Texas A&M. He's saying that will be it. When Dave's saying that will be it, he's talking about the end of the series. We went 3 and out, had a punt, right? So Texas A&M. We don't have any business with those guys. But when I hear Dave say that will be it, I think about my college football career, because it was over on that last play, y'all. And I didn't have a plan B. I didn't have a plan C. I didn't have any kind of contingency plan. When I took that hit in that last play, I separated my shoulder on college field that day. They had to go in and cut my collarbone out. I'd never played college football again. That was the last snap I took. So when I got up in that fourth quarter of life, I dusted myself off, and I was mad. I was mad at God. I was mad at the world. I don't even get to play football anymore, right? Poor me. So I started making all the wrong choices at that point, man. Remember that bad belief system that said all I'm doing is drink a little beer, smoke a little pot? Man, now I'm doing cocaine, I'm doing ecstasy, I'm doing pills. I'm putting any chemical in I can do to change the way I feel. If it was a drug, I was doing it, y'all. I'm in a fraternity. I'm partying all the time. Somehow, by the grace of God, I graduate college in 1999. I move off to Washington, D.C. I get a job working in the United States Congress. You know the Capitol Dome, you see on TV all the time? I work in that building every day. And after that job, I went to work for a guy running for president of the United States. And when he dropped out of the race in 2004, I went back to Dallas to train to be a stockbroker with one of the biggest Wall Street banks in the world, UBS, United Bank of Switzerland. And it was at that job as a broker that I learned about different ways to invest your money. And one of the financial tools I really liked was commodities. A commodity it might be beyond some of y'all's grasp right now, but a commodity is this. A commodity is something tangible. It's something like wheat, like oil, gold, platinum, silver. You can buy these things on an exchange in Chicago called the Mercantile Exchange. But I learned about 2 commodities in life, all right? 2 commodities in life that aren't on the stock exchange or on the life exchange. And those 2 commodities are misery and time. That first commodity on the board, misery, it is the only thing in life that I have found that is free, all right? Everything else costs something, but misery is free. Because when you're out of misery, if you just tell life, give me more, it'll give it to you by the truckload. You see miserable people, they always stay miserable. That's a choice they make, because misery is free, and you can have all of it you want. But the other commodity on the board, man, that's the one you need to watch. It's antithetical to misery. It's the opposite of it. Because it is the most precious resource in the world, and once it's gone for good. And all the money in the world cannot buy you one more second of time. It's the great equalizer. It affects everybody the same way. Let me tell you about misery and time. So, I'm at my job as a broker one day. I'm sleeping at work. I've been up partying all weekend, doing cocaine and drinking. And so it's Monday, I'm sleeping at work, and this other broker comes up and he's like, hey man, he said, Damon, you can't sleep on this job. They'll fire you for this. You're messing with people's money. He said, man, come on down to the parking garage. I got something that's going to pick you up. So I get up out of my desk and we go down to the parking garage. I think we're going to do some cocaine, right? Wrong, man. I get into the car. He hands me this glass pipe with these crystal rocks in it. And I freak out on him. I'm like, man, what is that, dude? In 2004, I've never seen this stuff. He said, hey, Damon, relax, man. It's crystal meth. He said, you'll love this stuff. And y'all, truer words have never been spoken. I fell in love with that drug that day, y'all. If y'all don't listen to a thing I say today, remember this. Meth is the most evil, most destructive, most addictive drug ever created by man. It was made in the lab, too, y'all. I could not give everything away fast enough. I say give everything away because I got so addicted to that drug. I gave up my job, my home, my car, my savings account, my family, my tethering to God, my sanity. Y'all, I went from working on Wall Street to living on the streets. Living on the streets of Dallas. I sleep on park benches, living in dope houses. I'm in the dope house that I live in with a bunch of other dope fiends, because I'm a dope fiend. And all we do is sit around and do drugs all day long. We're talking about we're going to get higher and higher. But we got a fundamental problem with our operation. We don't have jobs. So we do what all addicts do. We do whatever we have to do. We start stealing. We start breaking into cars. We start breaking into storage units. And eventually we escalate to home burglaries. And a home burglary, y'all, this is an entirely different animal right here. Because home burglary violates people at a core level, right? Because the property that I took from my victims, and I took a lot of property, over $1 million worth of property was stolen in 3 years. This is $1 million of people's electronics, their jewelry, their TVs, or stuff like that. That's $1 million, that's a lot of stuff from people, but that's nothing compared to what I really stole from these people. My victims, the most valuable thing I stole from my victims is their sense of security, all right? Anybody that's ever been the victim of a home invasion or a burglary knows what I'm talking about here. I stole something from these people. I don't know if they ever get back. There's people in Dallas, Texas that are going to work and leaving, and they're going to go home today, and they think about Damon West a lot different than you think about Damon West, because when they're locking or unlocking their third deadbolt on their door, they're going to be thinking about Damon West, that guy that came in here. He's the reason why we're sitting with our lights on now. So I always make it a point to talk about my victims. They're the most important component to this story. They're the reason why we have a criminal justice industry in America, a criminal justice system. So they have to live with that for the rest of their lives, and so do I, y'all. And so let's fast forward through all the burglaries to 2008, back when the Dallas SWAT team takes me down on July 30th. And I tell people all the time, that's not just the day I was arrested, y'all. That was the day I was rescued, all right? God got me out of a situation I couldn't get myself out of. There's no way I was leaving the Uptown burglaries alive, y'all. So here I am in county jail now, back when the story started and it held itself for the first 24 hours. And the guards come to get me. And Dallas County Jail is a courthouse in the middle and a bunch of tunnels underground to go to the jails, North Tower, South Tower, West Tower jails. You don't see the sunlight the whole time. I was in Dallas County Jail for 13 months and never saw the sun one day, all right? So they take me down these tunnels and take me to a pod, one of the worst pods they could find, and they throw me in it. Within 24 hours, I'm in my first fight over a breakfast tray. I mean, look at me, y'all. Do I look like a big guy? No, man. And I'm scared to death in there, y'all. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm scared to death. Jail is a very terrifying experience. And so, after 2 days in jail, I said, you know what, I didn't try to call my parents. So I called home, and my dad answered. My dad, the same guy you saw in that video. My dad, from my older generation of men, he's in his 70s. And I've never seen my dad cry. He doesn't show a lot of emotion. But I heard him cry one time in my whole life, and that was when I called home from jail. And he is screaming in the phone, man. He sounds like a wounded animal, y'all. He's screaming. He's like, Damon, man, how did we go so wrong, man? How did we mess up so bad with you? Or what could we have done different? And, man, he's crying, and now I'm crying because I broke my old man. My mom snatches the phone out of my dad's hand. My mom's a nurse. She's used to traumatic situations, and she's got a great relationship with God. So she pulls the phone out of my dad's hand. She says, baby, listen, we need to have a talk. She said, I've never seen your father like this before in my life. She said, he's broken, you know. He can't talk, but we need to talk, man. She said, the first thing you need to know is that we love you unconditionally. She said, that was a deal we made with God when he loaned you to us. She said, do you understand, Damon, that we love you unconditionally? And through the tears, I told my mom, I was like, yeah, Mom, I get it. You love me unconditionally. She said, that's good, baby, because we just gave you back to God. She said, there's nothing we can do for you anymore, Damon West. She said, you're now property of the state of Texas. She said, I'll never forget what she said. She said, you are now a captive audience to God, and you better start listening to him. Then she asked me a question. She said, Damon, do you remember that prayer plaque that I had on your wall as a kid growing up? Remember, I told you my mom had one of these plaques or crosses in every room, right? And she's asking me about the one in my bedroom on Roanoke Street in Port Arthur, Texas, where I grew up. And I'm like, Mom, what prayer plaque? What are you talking about? I've been on drugs for 4 years. You know, my brain doesn't fire right. She said, baby, it's footprints in the sand. She said, do you remember the story of footprints in the sand? I was like, Mom, I don't even know what you're talking about right now. So she patiently and lovingly retold me the story of footprints in the sand. She says, the guy was walking the beach with God, right? She said, they're watching a video play out of his life in the sky. She said, every time something good happened in that man's life, there's two sets of footprints walking side by side. She said, but every time something bad happens, and there's pain, there's hurt, there's suffering, there's loss, when he loses his football career, there's one set of footprints. So finally the guy gets frustrated with God, calls him out and says, God, what's up, man? Every time something good happens in my life, man, you're walking with me side by side. But every time something bad happens, man, you abandon me. I keep seeing one set of footprints. She said, that's when God laughed and said, Damon, you fool. Every time you saw one set of footprints, I didn't abandon you. I carried you. Boy, she started screaming at me like a coach. She says, baby, get me. She said, look down in that jail cell right now. There's one set of footprints, and they're not yours. She said, get on God's back. I don't want to lose my son. So, y'all, I started talking to a God that night that I hadn't talked to in years, man. And it's not some kind of, this isn't some kind of jailhouse conversion story, y'all. This didn't happen overnight. And let me tell you about my prayer to God when I was in county jail. 10 months, man. Every night for 10 months, I'd get in my bunk and I'd say my prayer at night. God, please, get me out of this jam out here that I'm in. And if you do, there I am bargaining with God, right? It doesn't work that way, y'all. God doesn't wait for me to get up to run the universe in the morning, I assure you. So I'm saying, God, give me out of this jam. If you do, I'm going to be a normal guy again. I'm going to get a job, and I'll just smoke meth on the weekends, God. I got this. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. I mean, that never hit his inbox, went in his spam. He never saw that message, I promise you. Because when I went to trial 10 months later, and that jury gave me 65 years, man, like I said, it was like being kicked in the stomach. And the first thing I heard after the judge announced my sentence is my mother, who's been on the front row for 6 days of that trial, gasped. The sound only a mother can make when she hears her son get a life sentence in prison, y'all. Broke my mother's heart, man. And so the bailiffs were on me real quick. Everything sped up after that. It's just like in the movies. They throw your arms behind your back and they slap the handcuffs on you. They shove you out of the courtroom head first. And as I'm going out, my parents are right there in the front row. And all I could say on the way out the door is, "I'm sorry, Mom." They took me to this little room. It's got a bulletproof glass right there, a little glass partition. They told me to wait. And so I'm sitting there and the shock is wearing off. It started, reality set in, man. Oh my God, I just got a life sentence. I'm going to prison the rest of my life. About 5 minutes later, my parents walk in on the other side of the bulletproof glass. They're going to give me one last visit with me before I go to prison. And my dad is stoic, man. He's just stunned disbelief, man. He just saw his son with all this promise of life get a life sentence in prison, you know. So my mom does all the talking. My mom, she does all the talking still, actually. But so my mom's a very strong woman. So she says, "Baby," she said, "debts in life demand to be paid." She said, "You just got hit with one hell of a bill from the state of Texas." And that's a lesson in life, y'all. Debts in life demand to be paid. If you owe a debt, you will pay it. It may take some time, but life will come back to you. She said, "But you did the things they said you did in that courtroom." Damon said, "You got to go pay that debt to society. That's the way the social contract works." She said, "But you owe a debt to your father and I too." She said, "We gave you all the opportunity, love, and support to be anything you wanted to be in this life." She said, "We raised you in Port Arthur, Texas, a giant melting pot of a city. We gave you a great moral compass, which you chose to not use." She said, "So here's the debt you're going to pay to us, because this is not acceptable anymore." She said, "When you go to prison, you are going to get on God's back like I told you to, and you will not get in one of these white hate groups, one of these Aryan Brotherhood type gangs, because you're scared because you're the minority in there." She said, "That's not how it works. You were not raised that way." She said, "When you go to prison, you're not going to get a bunch of tattoos all over you either, a bunch of graffiti on your skin. Matter of fact," she said, "you get no tattoos." Y'all see any tattoos? And I told those guys almost 10 years in prison, man. My mom said, "No, I can't get any tattoos." And so I didn't get any tats the whole time I was there. But my mom said, "Look, Damon, no gangs, no tattoos." Then she said, "You either come back as the man we raised, or don't you come back at all." Tough love for Mom, right? She said, "You understand the debt you're going to pay?" I was like, "Yeah, Mom, I got it." But I had no clue what I just promised my mom. Because when I got back to the pod in county jail, I got back to the pod, man, I asked every guy I could, man, everybody I could have been in prison before, how am I going to survive prison when the prison bus comes to get me? And every single guy, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, they're all telling me the same thing. "You're going to the worst part of the Texas prison system, Wes. You got a life sentence. And when you get a life sentence, you go to what's called the life sentence building. 500 people in your building. Everybody's got life. You don't come off the building for 5 years. You stay on one building. You come off the building to go to the chow hall, go to the chapel, and to go to the law library. There's only 3 ways you can even come off your building. So you're going to fight every day if you don't get into a gang. Get into a gang, man. You're 33 years old. You're gang recruiting age. Get into a gang. There was one guy in there, though, man, this old black guy named Jackson. And I called him Mr. Jackson in respect. Mr. Jackson was a real positive guy. He'd come check on me every day. Had a lot of positive stuff to say. Kept my spirits up in county jail. So that particular day, he came up to me. He goes, "West, I've been watching how you're dealing with these knuckleheads, these dummies, talking about you're going to get into a gang." He said, "Man, don't listen to these fools." And Jackson had been to prison 4 or 5 times. He knows about prison. He said, "So let me tell you what prison's going to be like. First thing you need to understand about prison is it's all about race." He said, "It's the most disgusting environment you're ever going to see because it's so racially charged." He said, "When you walk into a prison day room, you're going to see a TV set. In front of that TV set, you're going to see rows of benches in that life sentence building." He said, "That first row of benches full of blacks." He said, "Don't sit on that bench and get your head smashed in." He said, "That next row of bench for the essays, for the Hispanics." He said, "Don't sit on their bench either. They'll smash your head in too." He said, "That third row, if there's a third row, is for the whites. If there's no third row, y'all sit on the floor, man. That's the way it works in prison." He said, "So don't get into a wreck over race, because you can't change it. That's the institution." He said, "The inmates want it that way, so that's the way it's going to be." He said, "So the inmates, when you walk in, you're white, you're probably the white gangs first. They get the first crack at you." He said, "The Aryan Brotherhood, the Aryan Circle, the White Knights, the Woods," he's naming all these white prison gangs off. My head is spinning, y'all. He said, "You're fighting every one of these guys first." He said, if you survive all that, you don't give into their ideology of hate out of fear, then you're going to fight the black gangs. They're going to send the black gangs after you. Crips, the Bloods, Gangster Disciples, Mandingo Warriors. He's naming all these black gangs off. He said, you're going to fight them all. He said, but if you survive all that, you'll earn the right to walk alone. He said, the strongest man in prison always walks alone. Then he gave me a lesson in life. He said, look, he said, you don't have to win all your fights, but you do have to fight all your fights. And that's the lesson in life, y'all. Nobody is that good to win all their fights in life. We are going to lose some of our battles in life. And you know what? We're going to learn from that if we're any good. We're going to learn from that. We're going to move on. We're going to win some battles. We're going to lose some. But nobody wins all their fights in life. That's what Jack is telling me. He's like, don't ever not show up for a fight. You always have to show up. You always have to fight. Get up every day and get up there and fight. Then he gives me this analogy. I take this analogy with me everywhere I go. I take it with me. I've taken it to Clemson, to Alabama, to Georgia, to the University of Texas, University of Oregon, all these college football programs. They have this in their locker rooms. They talk about it all the time. It's this. Mr. Jackson said, look, Wes, imagine prison's like a pot of boiling water. He said, anything we put in that pot of boiling water is going to be changed by the heat and the pressure inside that pot. He said, I want to put 3 things in that pot of boiling water we call prison. I want to watch how they change, Wes. He said, put a carrot, an egg, and a coffee bean. He said, first things first, Wes. If I put a carrot into that pot of boiling water we call prison, he said, what happens when you boil a carrot? What happens when you boil a carrot, y'all? Turns soft. Good job. Turns soft. He said that carrot went into prison hard, but prison changed that carrot, and that water changed that carrot quick, turned him soft. He said the carrot got beat, he got robbed, he may have gotten raped, and he may have gotten killed. He said, you do not want to be the carrot in prison. He said, if I put a coffee bean in that pot of boiling water we call prison, what happens when you boil, he said, if I put an egg in that pot of boiling water we call prison, he said, what happens when you boil an egg? What happens when you boil an egg, y'all? Turns hard, that's right. He said the carrot turned soft, but the egg turned hard. He said the egg had a hard outer shell. That soft liquid inside, that outer shell protected that carrot physically. But inside, he turned hard. His heart got hard. Now he's incapable of giving or receiving love. He said that egg has become institutionalized. He said, if you become that egg, stay in prison the rest of your life, because you're going to come out with a bunch of swastikas tattooed all over you. He said, but Wes, if I put a coffee bean into that same pot of boiling water we call prison, he said, what happens when you put a coffee bean in boiling water? And I didn't know the answer. Somebody tell me what happens when you put a coffee bean in boiling water. Coffee. He said, it changes the water to coffee. He said, the coffee bean, the smallest of these 3 things, had the power to change the entire atmosphere inside that pot. He said, small like you, Wes, you're a small guy. He said, but you have the power to change the entire atmosphere inside that prison. He said, everybody in life puts out energy, negative or positive. It's called the law of attraction. He said, whatever kind of energy you put out, you attract back. He said, so you walk around prison all the time with a frown on your face and a scowl all the time, you look like you're tough. He said, you're going to attract that same kind of inmate. And that can be deadly in a place like prison. He said, but man, if you walk around with a smile on your face all the time, and you let these dudes know they're not getting at you, he said, you'll change that prison from the inside out. He said, the best part is, the other coffee beans in prison will find you because of your energy. And Mr. Jackson told me, go out there and go be that coffee bean, Wes. The last thing Jackson told me, though, before I got on that bus, he told me, he said, Wes, when you get to prison, I need you to just let it happen, man. Don't be scared, let it happen. I'm like, let what happen, man? What are you talking about, dude? He said, when you walk in that pod, they give you your cell assignment. Do not run to your cell like those guys that are scared. He said, when you walk in that day room, put your stuff down, put your back against the wall, and wait. He said, it won't take long at all. The first guy's he said, there's going to be a white guy that comes up to you. The first white guy that comes up to you is not coming to fight you. He's coming to get information, man. He's going to find out what gang you're going to be with, because they're going to expect you to go into a gang. He said, you get that dude away from you as fast as you can. Get ready. Because the second guy that comes up to you, he is going to hurt you, man. And when he gets within range, don't even wait for him to talk. Put your fist in his mouth, man. You give him everything you've got when you get the chance. And with that, I was off, y'all. I was off to face my biggest fears in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. I became inmate West number 1585689. And man, let me tell you about prison. First of all, you go on this prison bus, and it takes about 10 hours. You go all over the state of Texas, and I'm sure Louisiana's the same way. You travel to different prisons. You're handcuffed to another man. And so that means you're handcuffed to this guy. Wherever he goes, you go. If he goes to the bathroom, you're number 1 or 2, you're going with him. If he gets in a fight, you're getting in a fight too, because you're chained to him. He wants to fight you, you're fighting him with 1 arm. And I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff happen in these buses. They're very scary. You get to prison, they unshackle you, they strip you down, they body cavity. They search you, they poke you, they prod you, they take your DNA, you do all kinds of testing, and then they send you to your unit of assignment. My unit of assignment, where I was going to do my time and spend my life sentence, was the Mark Stiles unit in Beaumont, Texas. And y'all don't know much about Stiles because y'all are in Louisiana, but this is a mixed bag for me because Beaumont's right next to Port Arthur. That means I'm going close to home. I see my family all the time. But Stiles is bad. Stiles is a tough unit. It's one of the toughest units in the state of Texas. I'll put it up against any unit around here, actually. It's one of the toughest units in the state of Texas. It's got a lot of issues. But I'm going home, better for worse. So I get to the Stiles unit. I'll never forget that first bunk assignment they gave me. 7-building G-pod, 45 cell, bottle bunk, 3rd tier. So I walk into this pod. These pods are huge, y'all. And they've got 3 levels in this pod, and there's day room tables out there, there's TVs blaring, there's inmates sitting around, and you walk in, you hear the door close behind you, and all eyeballs are on you. And I'm freaked out and terrified of it. First thing I do is I look around for where 45 cell, because the numbers are written on the door. I find 45 cell in the 3rd row, right up by the showers. Furthest cell away from the door you can find. So, man, I couldn't even run it myself if I wanted to and get there without anybody getting me. So I do what Jackson tells me, man. I put my bags down, put my mattress down, put my back against the wall and wait. It takes no time at all. Little bitty white dude comes up. He's got no teeth in his mouth. Got that meth mouth thing going on. He's got all his teeth rotted out. He comes up. He's stumbled. He's drunk. They make wine in prison out of fruit, all kinds of they call it hooch. So he comes up drunk. I can smell it on him. He comes up. He stumbles up. He says, "Hey, white boy, what family you riding with, white boy?" I said, "Man, get out of my face, little dude. I'm riding with God. Leave me alone. Go away. I'm trying to get the dude away from me." He laughs at me. He says, "Man, God didn't even hear it, man. But we are, and we're coming to get you, white boy." So he stumbles off, and I'm thinking, man, that didn't go well at all. So about 10 minutes later, here he comes, just like Mr. Jackson said. Biggest white dude I've ever seen, my big corn-fed white dude. This dude's huge, man. He's got muscles bulging out, veins bulging out. He's got a swastika tattooed on the top of his bald head. Big skinhead dude. He comes down the stairs, and I see him coming to me. And y'all, I played ball all my life. I can be coached. I'm one guy that can be coached. So when he got within range, I remember Jackson said, "Man, I hit this fool in the mouth as hard as I could, and I popped him as hard as I could." Man, within 20 seconds, that fight was over. That dude was standing over me, beating me down. Bam! Man, y'all thought I was going to tell you I beat that guy up? Man, come on. Some little white guy goes into prison and starts running everything like Rocky? Man, that's in the movies, y'all. That's not reality. That doesn't happen anywhere I've ever been in the prison system, man. Let me tell you something. I lost most of my... I probably got 3 dozen fights in prison, and I lost 75% of those fights. Physically lost them, man. That's a lot of butt kicking in it. But I learned something about myself from all my losses. And I won just by showing up. As Jackson said, you don't have to win all your fights, but you got to fight all your fights. So I won by showing up. But I learned something about myself from my losses. You see, because only when we lose things sometimes can we learn the great lessons from it. Nobody really expects a good win anymore. But you expect a good butt kicking. You get them over and over, and you learn something about yourself. And I learned that I had been putting limits on myself, y'all. Let me tell you something about putting limits on yourself that I learned. The only person in life that can put limits on you is you. That person that looks back at you in the mirror every morning, talk to that person about limits. You don't let anybody ever tell you what you can or cannot do. Don't do it. Don't ever do it. That's a road you don't want to go down. Because you have to give somebody that right. You have to give that up. So me, the limits I've been putting on myself, it took about 2 weeks to get through the white games. Then after that, I'm fighting all the black games in prison, man. Sometimes more than one at a time. And every time they roll those cell doors, man, I am terrified. I'm terrified of hearing those words, "West, I want to look at you in the shower." They got to roll the cell doors every time you go to chow, go to the law library, go to the rec yard, go to the day room. And somebody says, "I want to look at you in the shower." Nothing gay about that, y'all. Somebody in prison says, "I want to look at you in the shower," that means you're going to the shower in a box, you know? Because there's no guards back there, there's no cameras back there, and blood comes out of the shower really easy, y'all. So I got so tired of being so terrible. I'd miss meals behind that, y'all. So scared. So I got out one Monday morning, and I looked in the mirror, and in the mirror in prison, it's not a piece of glass, that's a weapon. A mirror in prison is a piece of steel that's been polished down. You can see a reflection of it a little bit. So I get up in the morning and I look in this mirror and I say that sentence you see at the bottom of that chart. If it is to be, it is up to me. That's something I learned from one of these speakers that came in and spoke when I was in college playing football. When I was in the back of the room talking. Because this guy couldn't tell me anything I didn't know. Because when I was young, when I was your age, I knew everything. But that stuck with me. If it is to be, it is up to me. That is 10 words, 20 letters, the most powerful sentence in the English language, because that's a permission statement. That tells you to get up and go do something. So I got up that morning and I went to the rec yard. Remember me telling you about prison being all about race, right? Prison's all about race, right? Mr. Jackson said. He was right. The most racially charged place I've ever seen in my life, the most segregated place I've ever seen, is the rec yard on the Life Sentence building that styles you. So I'm going to walk you through the rec yard. Let's go walk the yard with me, y'all. So I'm going to take you to the prison rec yard. You come in through this chute, and that's where you get undressed. They strip you down, butt naked, man. You get all these guys standing around, they give you your clothes back, you come in through the chute. We'll call the chute home plate. You come in through home plate, put your clothes back on. So look at the right center field wall. Go down the right center field line. Right center field, they got a sand volleyball court. That sand volleyball court for the whites and Hispanics only. No blacks allowed in the court. Go around left center field, yo. They got these giant walls, 30-foot walls, 35-foot walls. Those are your handball courts. All the races can play handball, but you want to double up, play doubles with somebody? Man, your partner better look like you, better have the same skin color as you. You can't mix the races out there. Come on down the third baseline. They got a weight stack there. You want to lift some weights, get in shape, that's cool. You want somebody to spot you? Your spotter better look like you, better be the same race as you. But I passed all those sports up that day, man. I went straight to the basketball court. Who do y'all think runs the basketball court in the Life Sentence building? They're brothers, and they run it. They run it. But check this out. Told y'all where I'm from. I told y'all about that part of the story at the very beginning. The racial component is going to save my life later on. So I'm from Port Arthur, Texas, y'all. I've been the only white guy on the basketball court before. I've been the only white guy, everything, man. I've been through it. So and I'm an athlete. I'm looking at these basketball games every day, and I'm forming a plan in my head because I'm looking at these games, and I'm like, man, I'm better than that chump, and that chump. But I gotta get that rock in my hands. I can get that basketball in my hands. But white guys aren't allowed on the basketball court in prison, just like every race has got their own thing. The blacks control the basketball court, but they got a flaw in their system. See, I've been watching. After every game, they're gonna shoot for teams. You know what shoot for teams is, right? You know what shoot for teams? First two guys to make shots get to be team captains. So I got a plan formed in my head. So I'm hanging out right below the basketball, right below the rim. When I see the game is getting to, it's a very lopsided game that I'm watching. I know where it's going to end. So right before that last point's about to go in, I get up and start walking like I'm walking off under that goal. And as soon as that ball goes to that basket, I go and fall on that basketball like a fumble drill football, y'all. I got the rock in my hands. When I got up, man, a sea of angry black faces just sucked up around me, man. The whole basketball court is right there in my face. Man, they're screaming at me, man. They're like, hey, man, white boy, what's wrong with you, man? We're going to hurt you for this. If you lost, give us our ball back, man. Y'all, the toughest voice I can find, man. I'm squeaking around like, guys, man, look, I'm gonna shoot for teams today. I play basketball today. What? Man, these guys are incredulous, man. They're like, man, don't you know we're going to kill you for this? Man, they're spitting on me. They're screaming at me. Biggest guy out there, man, this blood from Houston named Jay Blood. Jay Blood walks up, man, and I've got this ball in my hands. There's no way I'm giving this ball. He's going to knock me out, I think. He gets up in my face and says, you know what, white boy? Get up in the line and shoot that shot. I hope you make it. So they all part ways. The free throw line comes open, and I go step up to it, and I'm thinking to myself, as I step into the line, Damon, the hell have you got yourself into? This is the dumbest thing you've ever done, Damon. So I'm standing there at the free throw line, dribble the ball, breathe out, breathe in, shoot the shot, nothing but net, man. Make my shot. Jay Blood gets up, he makes his shot. I pick my 4 guys, he picks his 4 guys. Got a 5-on-5 game, right? Wrong. It's 9-on-1, man. Those guys, my own teammates don't want me out there. And this is prison basketball in the Life Sentence building, y'all. There's no referees, there's no guards, there's no foul. You can't foul somebody in prison basketball. You can punch, kick, scratch, bite, whatever. Y'all, and so they're giving it to me as hard as they can. And I give it back wherever I can too, man. That's the whole point. I'm trying to earn some respect out there. After the first day, I got a black eye and a busted lip. I come back out there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And man, if I wanted to play some basketball, I got what I was looking for. They're picking me on every team. I'm first picked on every game, and everybody wants to get a piece of the white boy out there, man. They think I'm crazy. On Saturday, though, it changed. Man. I'm out there, and finally, the guys pass me the ball, and I finally make a shot. And one of them says, good shot, West. I heard that change, man. I'm like, West? I hadn't heard my name in a long time. I keep hearing white boy. But they quit calling me white boy that day. Because it's very derogatory to call someone by the color of their skin. A lot of people in this room know exactly what that feels like. It's a very derogatory thing to do to somebody. But they stopped doing it that day. They stopped doing that. They gave me my name back. And after that game was over, Jay Blood came up and did all the talking, just like he did 6 days before. but everybody's body language was totally different. He says, man, Wes, you pulled something off out here we had never seen a white boy pull off before, man. He said, you took everything we had and you gave it back whenever you could, and you never got racial, you never called us any racial names, you never got down like that. He said, man, you've earned the right, man. He said, you don't have to worry about the blacks the rest of the time you're here, man. You're good with us, man. And y'all, that felt good, man. And the first thing I thought about after he said that was Mr. Jackson and that coffee bean story, you know? Because here's the deal, you can't think about how uncomfortable it was for me to be out there being the only white guy. Think about how uncomfortable it was for them to have me out there on their basketball court, man. They got 20 years of a bad belief system telling them that I don't belong out there. But in 6 days, everybody made some changes. Everybody became coffee beans. And after that, man, those guys came by the cell to get me to play basketball all the time, banging on my cell door. Wes, come on, let's go outside, go shoot some hoops. Wes, come on. So y'all, after that, when the fighting was done, the terroristic threat of being in prison and the fear of physical harm was gone, I got to work on myself. And it starts with a mindset change. This is where changes have to start in life, y'all. This is the part of the story where the change starts to happen. But I had to change my mindset first. I had to quit looking at prison as a punishment, and I had to look at prison as an opportunity. An opportunity to work on myself 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And y'all, I've got a life sentence. I don't know when they're ever going to let me go. I don't have any idea that they're going to let me go in 7 years and 3 months. I think I'm going to be there for at least 15 years. But it doesn't matter. I'm there. So let me work on myself. So I got up every day and started working out in 3 areas. Spiritually, mentally, and physically. I watched all these guys in prison, man. They'd be on the rec yard, they're working out. They're huge. These guys can play in the NFL or the NBA. They're physical specimens. But these guys were just working on their bodies. They weren't working on their minds, and they weren't working on their hearts. So that's the thing I did. I saw their example of what they were doing, and I used that as an example of what not to do. Because you are what you eat, I found out. That's not just talking about food. You are what you eat is about life. You know? What do you feed yourself mentally? What kind of videos do you watch? What kind of games do you play? What kind of websites do you go to, right? What kind of books do you read? Because whatever kind of stuff you're putting in, that's what you're going to look like on the outside. You're going to show that stuff. You're going to behave like that. And spiritually, what are you doing? Are you tapping into something spiritually every day, every week, every month, every year? If you don't, you should really consider it's a big universe out there, y'all. So, spiritually, mentally, and physically, I got up every single day and started working on myself, working on my life. I read a lot of books when I was in prison, y'all. Had a ton of time in my hand. When I was y'all's age, I was a moderate reader. But when I was in prison, man, I learned 2 things about books in prison. One, I never saw a guy reading a book get into a fight. So I like books already just for that. And I never saw a fight over a book. So these were cool. I like books. Books were great. And they took me to places. But I read 2 of my things that really informed me. Like, I read about the history of world religions. I found there's 5 major religions in the history of the world. In our history, in our world history, there's Hinduism, there's Buddhism, there's Judaism, there's Christianity, and there's Islam. There's 5 major religions. And 95% of the world believes in one of those 5 religions. And at the core of all 5 of those religions and their spiritual books are the same 4 spiritual principles. They pop up. In the Bible, the Torah, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, you can find these 4 spiritual principles in there. Unselfish, honest, pure, and loving. Unselfish, honest, pure, and loving. This is a formula for decisions in life, y'all. Because when you get up to the line, you've got to make a choice. When I get up to the line to make a choice, Damon, is what you're about to do, is it unselfish, is it honest, is it pure, is this loving? And if it's not, then I know exactly where it is. It's over here on the other side. The opposite end of the spectrum, where things like selfish, self-seeking, self-want, self-desires, self-delusion, they all hang out over here. Self-delusion is your ego, y'all. That's that voice in your head that tells you, hey, you know what, you're pretty neat, Damon. No, man, don't ever listen to that ego. That voice is a danger, it's your enemy. So, when I got outside of self and started getting outside of my own head and my own well-being and started thinking about others and putting others before me, a whole new world opened up to me. Because I had never known that before, because I had been a taker all my life. And when I got outside of self, I learned what the secret to life was. The secret to life. I found this in prison, y'all. You can find the secret to life anywhere. But the secret to life is real simple. It's one sentence. The secret to life is serving others and being humble. Servant leadership. Servant leadership means you help other people achieve their goals in life. You help bring other people up to a different station of life. You help people reach their goals. Because when we are helping other people without any selfish desire or what's in it for us, when we are helping other people for the right reasons, we really are helping ourselves. And that's the way the universe works. So I learned this principle, the secret to life in prison. It was great. And once I learned that, I started doing everything I could to put back into the stream of life. Man, I couldn't take any college classes because I had a bachelor's degree in college already. But I could go to the schoolhouse and I taught guys how to read, how to write. We teaching guys in their 50s how to read and write. Man, it's a heck of a thing, you know. Got them ready for the GED test so they get their license together one day. Help guys who are in college classes. I found a way to fit in. Y'all, there are so many different ways you can find to help other people, and if you don't find a way, then you aren't looking. But the biggest lesson I learned in prison was yet to come. I learned it in a recovery meeting one day. And recovery is what I have to go to. As an addict, I have to have a program of recovery. My program of recovery I go to is an Alcoholics Anonymous group on the outside here. I went to one on the inside of prison too, because I started drinking alcohol first. And so I went to a recovery meeting. These recovery meetings teach us how to live with our addiction. So I went there one day, and we start these meetings off with what's called the Serenity Prayer. The Serenity Prayer says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Well, the guy running the meeting that day, he draws a line from one side of the head with a chalkboard right there. He draws a line from one side of the chalkboard to the other, like you see that line right there. And he says the first part of the prayer, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. He said the things you cannot change are on God's line. Whatever, I don't know what faith everybody's in here, so we'll go with God, whatever you call God. He said, the things you cannot change are on God's line. He said, God's line is infinitely long. It goes from one side of the universe to the next, bigger than chalkboard. He said, so, Damon, don't touch the things that are on God's line because they're not yours to mess with. Let God deal with those things. Then he said the second part of the prayer, the courage to change the things I can. He wouldn't erase a little inch out of that line. You see that line that's broken on that board? Wouldn't erase a little inch. He said, if God's line is infinitely long, then your line is to scale. You get 1 inch of an infinitely long line. He said, there are 4 things on your line that God gives you to work on every single day, David West. They are the only 4 things that you control in life. I told you, this is it, man. This is the whole ballgame we learned this. He said, the 4 things you control in life are what you think, what you say, what you feel. He said, no, David West is most important because everybody's going to see this. What you do. What you think, what you say, what you feel, what you do. And if it's not one of those 4 things, y'all, you don't control it. You don't even have a say in it for the most part. And it took me a lot to understand that. It took me a while to understand it, to get that, even after you showed it to me. But it finally sunk in. Man, I'm not some wizard behind the curtain pulling levers and pushing buttons, manipulating people to do what I want them to do. That's that ego inside my head telling me I have that power. I don't. I control what's inside my head. You control what's inside your head. And once I got out of God's way and started doing the things that only I can control and worrying about those things, I was off to the races, y'all. Everybody took notice. Parole took notice. And on November 16, 2015, parole kept knocking on my cell door. Mr. West, we're going to give you 1 shot. We're going to let you go. Go do that plan you want to do. You want to go talk to kids all over the country? Great. Well, like I said at the beginning, if you come back in handcuffs anywhere between now and 2073, we will keep you until 2073. You'll never go home again. So give me a pen. Where do I sign? And so the point of that is, y'all, that no matter what you're handed in life, or what problems you find yourself in, or what the choices you make and the consequences of it, it will be okay. It will be okay. There's hope. Because if I can make it out of the situation I was in, if I can come back and be here today, it proves that your past does not define you. Our past don't define you. Your past wins don't matter. Your past losses don't matter. Your past is your lesson, all right? Use that to learn from it. Your past is your lesson. The present today is a gift. Make the most of today. Fill today with positive things. That is a gift, y'all. But the future, that's the big one. The future, man. What do you want to be like in the future? What are your goals? Set goals. Your future goals should be like to be the best servant leader you can, to be the best man, the best woman you can, the best daughter, the best son you can, the best future servant leader. That's what your goals need to be like. Find positive goals, set them, because that's what it's about, man. Set those goals. So pass your lesson, the present is a gift, and the future, those goals, that's your motivation in life, y'all. So, I'm going to wrap this up now, and I want to show y'all this. So, you never know what your purpose in life is. So when I was sitting in prison, just a little over 3 years ago, because I've only been out for 3 years and some change, you know. Sitting in prison a little over 3 years ago thinking about, man, I want to go out and talk to kids. I want to go out and share my story. I'd love to go to talk to college football programs. All those things have come true. And I was in Georgia talking to their football team one day. And when I came back home, Kirby Smart, the coach in Georgia, called me up. Said, hey man, we got a guy that just got suspended from the team. He got arrested for marijuana. He said, man, will you talk to him on the phone? So yeah, I talked to him. This kid named Trez Patrick from inner city Atlanta, black kid, plays linebacker there. Real good kid, man. I talked to him on the phone for 15 minutes. I called Kirby Smart and then back up. I said, hey man, look, this is a good kid, man. What are y'all gonna do? He said, we gotta suspend him, man. 4-game suspension. I said, man, please send him to me. I'm going to a Texas maximum security prison next weekend. Let me take him through and try to scare him straight, man. Try to show him what the consequences of his decisions could lead to. And man, Kirby Smart signed off on it. The athletic director of Georgia signed off on it. And the kid's mom in Atlanta signed off on it. Now I had to get the Texas prison to sign off on it because I went out and threw myself out there without getting their permission, but they signed off on it too. Check out this story CBS Sports just did on him in January.
Georgia linebacker Trez Patrick was lucky to be playing in the Sugar Bowl against Texas. Actually, he's lucky to be alive. See, about this time a year ago, he was sitting in a Georgia drug rehab, having been arrested 3 times, suspended from the team, and trying to kick a marijuana addiction. Now, into his life came a former North Texas quarterback named Damon West. West was once sentenced to 65 years for robbery. Now, if that seems excessive, it isn't when you're trying to support your meth addiction by robbing houses. Well, West wanted to make something of his life when he was paroled in 2015 after only 7 years. Out of the blue, he approached Dabo Sweeney, the awards winner, and said, I want to start making motivational speeches to give back. Dabo Sweeney was so impressed with what West did, he passed him on to Nick Saban, who passed him on to Kirby Smart, the coach at Georgia. Well, he knew about Trez Patrick and wanted to save the kid's life, as we spoke about before. West had such an impact that he convinced Kirby Smart for Trez Patrick to spend a day in a maximum security prison in Texas. Now, a lot of lives were changed that day. The prisoners who told the kid, don't screw up like we did, kid. And Trez Patrick, he's back on the team, he's starting, and he's turned around his life now, having gone to inpatient and outpatient rehab, thanks to Damon West.
You never know what your purpose is in life, y'all. Never knew Trez Patrick when I was in prison. Never thought our paths would cross, but you know, if I could be taken and be used, parole, when they came to talk to me, where you get one parole interview, the lady asked me, she said, hey, Mr. West, you got a very interesting backstory. I don't see a lot of people like you. She said, let me ask you a question. If you could be remembered for being one thing in this life, what would that be? Give it to me in just one word. And I fired off right back at her real quick. Useful. I want to be useful again. Let me be useful. I can be useful in prison, I can be useful out there, but I just want to be useful. And y'all, everybody in this room has the power to be useful. Everybody in this room, no matter how big or small you are, where you come from, what your background is, none of that stuff matters. Mr. Jackson's coffee bean story is what matters. Because that coffee bean, small as those 3 things, but it had the power to change the entire atmosphere inside that pot of boiling water. And everybody has the power to change an atmosphere inside the school, in your community. Everywhere you go, you can be like that coffee bean. So my call to action, before I get to that, this is new. This is all new. This is the first, so yesterday my book came out. It stores all over the country. It's called The Change Agent. It's available on Amazon.com right now. I brought some copies here to sell, so we've got some more of those, but it's available on Amazon. It's called The Change Agent. So when we were setting this whole thing up, I thought it was going to be really neat to be at the school today because it's the first presentation I've ever done since being an author. So this book is out. If you want to hear it, it's got fascinating stories about prison, about life, about family. It's a story about addiction, about hope, about crime, about punishment. So good book, The Change Agent. Obviously, I'm biased because I wrote it. Anyway, let me know what you think if you buy it. Hit me up on Facebook. But here's the deal. So, nothing in life is free except misery, right? We went over that earlier. So, you have to pay me to come into here today, all right? I'm requiring a fee from every single person in this room. You didn't know you were paying me today, huh? That's good. Get your wallets out. Here's the deal. This is your price for admission today. My call to action to you, Kendra, is to go out you go share Mr. Jackson's coffee bean story. Not only that, but you go live Mr. Jackson's coffee bean story. And when you go share his coffee bean story, your pot of boiling water is in prison. That's Jackson and I's story, man. We've been to prison. Yeah. Your pot of boiling water is life. And when you talk about that coffee bean story, tell them about that pot of boiling water is life, man. And put those 3 things in that pot of boiling water is life and tell those people about that carrot that turns soft. You don't want to be the carrot. I've been the carrot, y'all. Everybody in this room has been the carrot. Life has beat us down at some point. We got soft. It sucks. But you tell them about that egg that turns hard when that pot of boiling water of life gets a hold of it. Makes you hard, makes you mad at the world, turns you off, makes you a mean person, a miserable person to be around. Misery. You don't want to be the egg. I've been the egg. We've all been the egg before. But you tell them about that coffee bean. You tell them about that coffee bean and how special that old coffee bean is. And show them how small the coffee bean is compared to the carrot and the egg. Show them that the coffee bean was the only thing in the 3 things that changed the atmosphere there. Tell them that coffee bean jumps in that pot of boiling water and tells that boiling water, turn it up. I got this. Nothing too hot for a coffee bean, right? And the longer the coffee bean sits in that pot of boiling water, the stronger your pot of coffee is going to be. So my call to action to each and every one of y'all is the same call to action that Mr. Jackson gave to me before I walked onto that bus to go to prison. Go out there and go be that coffee bean. Y'all, thanks a lot, man. Thanks for letting me talk to you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. You got a coffee bean. So, because I'm down for that. I'm down. You got a question back there? What you got? Hey, it takes the first question and choose the hardest one. What's your name? Cindy, what's your question? Cindy said, I heard you're an axe brother. Where did you make a retreat? Tell me about show of hands. Y'all know what the axe retreats are? The axe? So, I made my first axe retreat at this place called the Mark Stiles Unit in Beaumont, Texas. I made my first axe retreat in prison, Cindy. And when I did that retreat in prison, I went back Sunday when it was over. I called my mom from the prison phone. I said, Mom, I had the best time in prison this weekend. She's like, my mom's heard everything at this point. She's like, all right, Dad, what's the best time in prison? I said, Mom, these axe guys came in here. They loved on us. They fed us. The food was good too, by the way. The food was really good. You had to have the right bait to go fishing. So they loved on us. They brought God in here. I mean, and it said, Mom, it was like being in heaven for 1 weekend in prison. I said, Mom, I got out of prison. I got to find these guys. I got to find these act guys. I want them to be my friends. And when I got out of prison, in the car, my parents were waiting in the parking lot to pick me up. And so we hugged in the parking lot. We hit in the car. We were getting ready to leave. My mom gets me the axe bracelet. The first piece of jewelry, first thing I put on my body for my parents when I got in the car was this axe bracelet. She said that's what all the men and women that have been through an axe program wear around the community where we live in Southeast Texas. She said, you got 1,000 Axe Brothers decisions waiting for you back home, Damon. And I signed you up for an axe retreat on the outside of St. Charles. So that's what I did. I got in, Cindy, I stayed with those guys, and now I go back into prisons myself. I go to prison all the time, man. I love going to prisons. Next question. What you got back there? What's your name? CJ, what's your question? How many people have run into what? Resorted to the Bible in prison? CJ asked how many people resorted to the Bible in prison. CJ, I would say most people in prison find some kind of religion in there. You're going to find more Christians in there than anything else. So the answer to your question is most people in there find the Bible. But here's something that tripped me out, CJ, that I learned about in prison. When you go out of prison in Huntsville, and I didn't leave out of Huntsville, I left out of this treatment center, right? So the rumor is, I don't know if this is true, CJ, but this is what all the inmates talk about. When you walk out of prison, they got 2 trash cans. They got one for trash, because when you walk out, they want you to get rid of all your trash. You don't take a bunch of trash with you. And then they got another trash can on the other side for Bibles. Trash can for Bibles, CJ. Check this out. But the reason is that trash can is not a trash can. It's a recycle bin. And they'll take those Bibles that inmates throw out on the way out the door and give them to another inmate that's coming into the Texas prison system that doesn't have a Bible. Kind of like to serve a life there with a Bible, right? So you may get a Bible that belongs to another inmate. Because that inmate carried that Bible around for all those years in prison, got them through that prison experience, gave them hope, and on the way out the door, chunked in the trash can. Do you know what the recidivism is? The rate at which people go back to prison. You go back to commit more crimes, whatever it is. Recidivism means you go back to prison. The rate of recidivism in America, 3 years, 85% of the people that get out of prison go back. 85%. 85% of the people that get out of prison make it back to prison within 3 years. A lot of people dropping off their Bibles when they see jail. Yeah. All right, next question. What you got? What's your name? Cameron. Cameron wants to know what my biggest challenge to overcome. Me. Cameron, me. I was the biggest challenge to overcome. I was the biggest opponent I've ever faced because I always got in the way. And that's what being an addict is all about. I always got in the way, Cameron. The biggest challenge to overcome is me, my mind, my head. I had to finally get out of the way. And like, I don't go around beating people over the head with spirituality and stuff like that. But I had to get out of the way and let God do his thing. I had to get off that line. Because I wanted to get up on that line and grab something that wasn't mine. Cameron, I was easily the biggest obstacle I had to overcome. And usually that's what it is. Usually we are in our way more than anybody else has ever been in our way. Hey Cameron, you know what? If anybody would have done to me in life what I did to myself or I did to my family, I'd kill them. You know, I did more to my family and more to myself than I would allow any other person to ever do to me. I've been my own biggest obstacle. Next one, what you got? Okay, what's your name? Kate? Kate, right? Kate asked a good question. He said, when you got out of prison, you saw all the stories about you, about drugs and burglaries and all the stuff I did, man. Guys, listen, man, it was bad. So I got out of prison. The first night I was home, I had to move with my parents for the first 2 years out of prison. So I get out of prison and I asked my dad if I could borrow his laptop. He said, what do you want to do with it? I said, well, I want to Google myself. I want to see how bad it is. He said, Damon, don't do it. He said, it's bad. He said, it's really bad. And so I did it, okay? I Googled it, and it was bad, man. It was, you can still see some of those stories, but I told my dad, I said, Dad, give me 1 year. Give me a year, give me 2 years, and I will totally change this, man. I will go out there and do so much good that I'll push these bad stories off Google. I'll push them off the first 2 search pages. And that's what I did, man. It took a couple of years. But if you go out, you Google Damon West now, you're going to find one negative story, because anytime, it's kind of like a catch-22. If you Google my name, people want to Google the crime. So there's going to be one story about the crime, but the rest of it is all positive stories of way I've been able to go out and give back and put back into society. But man, that's a total God thing, man. But it was awful looking at it, Kate. It was terrible, man. And it was terrible. And people get online, y'all know this with bullying and stuff. I mean, we could talk for another 2 hours about bullying. People get online and they can hide behind identities online and they say the nastiest stuff. The worst part is the stuff they said about my family, man. Because my family didn't do that. But the problem is the choices we make have consequences on the people around us. The choices I made brought my family down. The choices I made had people online talking about my family, what kind of parents my parents must have been. Man, my parents were great. I won the lottery to get to have my parents. But people talked about them like they were scum, they were bad. My parents, the choices we made. The choices I made, I didn't just go to prison by myself. My parents went to prison too. I locked up my brothers, my parents. Man, they went to prison with me. I locked everybody up. Because every time they wanted to come see their son, they had to go through a metal detector, get wanted, get patted down like they were a criminal, man. Our choices affect so many people around us. And look at those stories, man, it broke my heart for what I did to my family, man. Good question, okay, very good question. It's the first time anybody's ever asked that. Yeah. Next question. What you got back there? What's your name? Zach. Zach wants to know what kept me motivated. What kept me motivated is the belief, is the hope, man. Zach, you gotta always have hope. But it was the belief, the hope that I could do positive things no matter where I was. Dabo Swinney, y'all know who Dabo Swinney is? The coach of Clemson? They just won the national championship. Dabo Swinney, when he heard my story, he said, you know, Damon, I tell everybody this story all the time. He said, I was running the bleachers in Death Valley. Death Valley's your stadium in Clemson. He said, I got to the top, and there was a weed growing out of the concrete bleachers at the top. He said, how do you think a weed started growing out of the concrete bleachers 250 feet in the air? And the answer, Zach, is that you can bloom where you're planted. All right? No matter where you are planted, you can bloom. He said, your story is proof of that. I got to bloom in one of the hardest places, the hardest environment I've ever been in my life. Maximum security prison. I mean, it was the hardest environment in the world. But because I can control my emotions, I can control what Damon West does, what he thinks, what he says, what he feels, what he does, I had a chance in life to see what I could do. I could bring hope to others. I could bring a smile to people. And usually it all starts, Zach, with a smile on your face. You change the entire atmosphere you walk around. People are going to see your body language before they hear your mouth produce any language, right? Your body language is going to speak volumes before you speak one single word, Zach. And you go in a room with a smile on your face, you light the room up immediately, man. But I can see the hope that I can bring other people, and I saw other people bring me hope too, but hope, man. That's what kept me motivated. Hope to go out and do something positive. Even if I was going to be in prison doing it, man, I was happy to be able to do something positive in prison. Good question. Next question. What you got? What you say? How can you, what's your name again? Cameron. Good question. Cameron wants to know, how can we make a difference? That's the ultimate question, isn't it? That's the coffee bean question. Cameron, how can you make a difference? You're wondering, hey, I'm just one person, I'm over here. You know, high school can be a tough environment. You know, some of you have people that get into cliques, you have popularity contests, some people can be mean, some people are nice. But how can you make a difference? You can be positive wherever you go, Cameron. You control that, man. You control this little atmosphere around you, Cameron. It's yours to control. No one gets a piece of that but you. All right? You can't let anybody tell you what you can or can't do. You control that atmosphere. But when you take that little bubble of positivity that you are, Cameron, around other people, it's infectious. It's contagious. I tell people all the time what Mr. Jackson told me. You will either infect people wherever you go, or you will affect them. All right? Be that positive change to affect people. You can make a change by affecting other people around you, Cameron. You really can. Seriously. Hold on to that. Next question. Okay. All right. I think we're at the end of it, man. All right. Hey, y'all. Thanks a lot, man. Be that coffee, y'all.